Papa Joey.
We're here. How did we get here so fast?
That worked out well, actually.
Yeah.
Not bad.
I saw there's like 24 comments on there.
Already, I know.
Who got
so
on there
welcome,
first?
everybody. Christine was the big winner tonight.
Oh, I need to bring it on myself. That's right.
Yeah.
I have to do it.
I'm gonna now. I feel weird because I'm gonna switch you around here real quick. There we go. That feels better. I don't know why I looked weird the other way, but I wanted to change it. I always got the sound effects tonight. That's good. So we got Christine's our big winner tonight. She was on first.
Congratulations, Christine.
We got Wendy. Jack's joining us from afar. Got Aragon Stories on. Who else? Chris is on. Kathleen's on. Heavy Metal Beer Club. We got Janet. We got a whole list of people on tonight. This is awesome.
I love it.
All right, let's get to it. So, if I missed anybody, I apologize. I'll get you as we go here. But we are continuing our conversation about Las Cruces Paracon.
Yay!
Coming up first weekend in October, right?
Yeah, like just over about 5 weeks.
It's weird because every time I talk about the dates, I'm thinking we're going to be there early, so we're going to be there the last week in September. So it's weird because I keep saying, yeah, we'll be there at the end of September, but it's really the event is October, that first weekend. So,
hi Chris, it's good to have you on here because we miss you already. It's been a whole week.
It's been a whole week. So yeah, we got a really special guest tonight. You heard about her last week. She is Miranda from Ghost Bikers. Let's go ahead and bring her on.
Yay.
Hey,
that
guys.
goes on really a long time.
Hey, I like a lot of applause.
All right, well, some more. Take a bow. Whoops, see, it's sensitive too. Yes.
So welcome to the show.
Thank you guys so much for having me, and thank everyone in the chat room for tuning in.
Yeah, Christy said a lot about you, so we felt like we already knew you, or already know you. Already know you.
I appreciate that, and just the kind comments and everything. I've had the great opportunity of being able to work with her on some really good projects over the last couple of years. So yeah, she's awesome, and I appreciate that.
I have to laugh at something. I'm going to put up a comment real quick, and I know you guys will laugh.
That's what I was looking around myself.
It's funny because I asked the same thing if he was in a church.
Yep. That's why I thought that was funny that Jack said that. So good timing on that.
I didn't think about a confessional booth.
It's true.
I thought I had church organ or pipe organ things behind me, but no.
It does look like, from what I'm looking at, it looks like the little strips of stained glass behind them, doesn't it? Isn't that what you're saying?
It does. I was thinking stained glass and kind of like some kind of, I don't know, like little relics behind there.
Yeah.
Got my kissing frogs and my other frogs.
That's funny.
Hey, Smoking Joe's on from down under.
We got everybody on tonight. Holy
cow,
this is awesome.
From Kiwi Land, I believe she's.
Your silence tomb. That's what Joe's calling it. That's funny. So Miranda, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came up with the name? Because we love the name. By the way, I got to point out your mummy lamp behind you because that's just really cool.
Which is very cool.
Yep. So I'm Ghost Biker, and that back there is Khonsu, the Egyptian god of travel and adventure. But my name is Miranda, and I'm better known as the Ghost Biker. I travel around the country on my motorcycle to different haunted and historic locations, and I highlight them on my web series, Ghost Biker Explorations. I've been an investigator for right around just under 14 years, and I've been doing Ghost Biker we're coming up on the 4th season. And so I started with the team doing marketing, putting their videos together, and helping with the investigations and doing their photography. But while I was not traveling with the team to different commercial or residential locations, I was out traveling on my own to different, really more urbex type locations, or locations that kind of have a local history. So I was traveling to those places on my motorcycle, taking photos and sharing those photos and those stories on my social media sites. And I found that when I wasn't doing the investigations with the team, that people were asking a lot of questions about the locations that I was sharing from my personal travels. They were asking, if these locations were haunted, kind of what the story was behind some of the places. Because as you know, with urbexing, a lot of the time you're traveling to these really unique locations that maybe, are really have an interesting story, but not a lot of everyday people will go and visit on a regular basis. And so I really got to thinking about it, and through a conversation with a friend, I thought, why don't I go and document my travels through video rather than just through the photography on the social media? And with my background being in photography and marketing, I really sat down and kind of developed a marketing plan, as well as how I wanted to release the episodes. I wanted to release them as a season rather than just after I would travel to the location. That way it would give me time to really research the history and then also research the paranormal for the investigation. And so I decided on what better time than October to release the season. And so I was going to release something every week during October. So that meant that my episodes would either be 4 to 5 episodes in length, and or in season. And so that I just sat down and really just developed that out. And that's really how Ghost Biker was born. I ended up leaving the team because I really couldn't commit to doing all that I was doing on the team, but then also to fully develop Ghost Biker. So I left the team, and of course now we're rolling into the 4th season, and it's gone very quickly. And
it's probably hard to get them all on the bike.
Yes. It is. It's more of a solo thing.
Yeah. So you went for it, and you're not looking back.
No, I enjoy investigating with teams and with other individuals, but because being a solo investigator does pose a lot of different challenges than when you're with a team. But I'm very picky about who I want to really put myself in some of these situations with. So I do collaborate on occasion with several different teams or other solo investigators. And I really like being able to do that because I feel that it really helps to be able to grow and learn. And I'm able to kind of take that back with what I do and be able to share ideas. So I do really enjoy that.
That's cool. Very cool. I do want to give a shout out to Vicky, who's on right now. Everybody give a shout out to Vicky, because Vicky is responsible for this whole Las Cruces.
Well, let's give her some applause.
Absolutely.
She's the brains behind the setup there.
Oops, see, it's touchy. It's very touchy.
And it was, I got to say thank you to Vicky for introducing us to you guys, to get you guys on the show with us. So we're really appreciative of that. So.
Absolutely, yeah. Vicky has. I'm really excited, because I was bummed last year whenever they were going to have the Paracon, and then of course, had to reschedule, because I was really looking forward to getting to meet her and all the other great folks out in the area. So I'm so glad that they decided to do it this year, carry it on, and really looking forward to getting out there, investigating some or seeing some really cool locations, and also getting to meet some really great people.
Well, you're gonna love the jail, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So for some of the people watching who may not know, Jack was asking urbexing. What is that exactly? Can you describe that?
Sure, absolutely. So urbexing is it's short for urban exploration, which is usually going to abandoned buildings or abandoned locations. A lot of the time, some people will do ghost hunting with it. Others will just do more exploring, taking photos, and that sort of thing. For me, I use it to take photos. The urbexing motto is, of course, take nothing more than photos, leave nothing more than footprints.
Right.
And so myself, when I go to these different locations, and it works out great with the bike because you can keep things simple, have your camera, but you go, and I always make sure I get permission. I'm not one of those urbexers that trespasses, because even though it's abandoned, it's always somebody's property.
Right.
But yeah, a lot of the locations were places like, there's a set of abandoned train tunnels. They're known as the rat hole system, that run from southern East Tennessee all the way up to through central Kentucky. And so I was visiting some of those places, taking photos there. Abandoned Six Gun City, which is an abandoned amusement park in southern Kentucky. There are a lot of abandoned churches here in the area that I'm from. So yeah, locations like that was what I was photographing and highlighting.
That's cool. So the underground tunnels that you're talking about, was that part of the Underground Railroad at the time, back in the day? Is that what that was? Or
no, these were actually train tunnels.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they were train tunnels
from literally train tunnels. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now there are some different locations in this area that are part of the Underground Railroad, but these in particular were part of I believe it was the L&N train system, and they actually ended up tearing up the tracks, rerouting the train system because of flooding and such. There's a lot of different variables that added to this, but it's a really unique set of tunnels. There's 27 tunnels total, and some of them you can ride and walk through. There's one or two that you have to kayak through. So there's a lot of different, and they range in length from a mile long to, much shorter. Actually, one of those tunnels in my episode 2 of season 3, I actually filmed my story part where I was telling the story about the 1944 troop train derailment. I actually told the story from one of those tunnels.
Well, tell us that story real quick. I don't know about that.
So this one, and this is actually one of my favorite episodes, because it is in true Ghost Biker style, the way we kind of set the seasons up to be, or the type of locations that we wanted to highlight. But the 1944 troop train accident took place in High Cliff, Tennessee, which is on the Tennessee-Kentucky border up near Jellicoe. And it is a very small area, kind of a blip on the map. I was actually scouting out a route for a haunted motorcycle ride that I host once a year. And as I was riding up on this mountain road, just happened to pass this little sign. It was no more than a little 8x8 sign that said 1944 troop train accident viewing spot. And of course, this mountain road is one of those that just, spotty guardrails, broken road, drop off into the middle of nothing, a big ravine. And you couldn't see because the trees were all grown up. But essentially, back in 1944, there was a troop train that was going on this one specific track. They were taking a group of fresh recruits from Ohio, Kentucky. There were a few from Tennessee, some from Indiana and Illinois, and they were taking them down for training. So these were very, very fresh recruits, and they don't really know exactly what caused the accident, whether it was speed, because it's on this very, very sharp curve. It's probably the sharpest curve on this particular rail line. But the train ended up derailing. Some of the stories goes they thought maybe the engineer had either gone to sleep or was drinking. There's also a theory that says that because we were so close to Oak Ridge, which is the secret city, that it could have been a sabotage type situation. But all indications lead that this accident was caused just from excessive speed. And so when the train derailed, it derailed in this area known as the Jellicoe Narrows, which is an area on the Clear Fork River. It's not an exceptionally deep area, but it's very rocky. And so it took them a while to actually be able to recover all the bodies, just because it is in such a rough area. And there's not really anywhere very close by to take the bodies to. So you could not see the area where this happened from the viewing spot because everything had grown up. And I think that there was a memorial down on the rocks that the Boy Scouts had installed there back in the 80s. Well, due to the weather and people not being able to get down to that memorial, the actual rock face memorial had washed off. And so so I ended up taking my motorcycle probably about a quarter mile down from the sign, literally where I could find the largest area to pull off, and ended up hiking down into this area to see if I could find where the accident happened. So I ended up coming back with some different pieces of equipment. I investigated during the day. So that's what's unique about this investigation is it did take place during the day. And some of the different tools that I had to use, I had to be creative because once I got down to the water, you had water noise. You also had the noise from the train tracks. And then you had the noise coming from the road up above on the hillside. So, so I wasn't really expecting to get any EVPs, even though I was able to pull 2 out of there. I had to rely mostly on pieces of equipment like my SB7, the the spirit box, my dowsing rods. I had a really good rod session, and then also my EDI Plus box. I love using that, and then also some different trigger items. And so I was down there for probably maybe an hour and a half and did the investigation. And the only sounds that I got on the SB7, I got one word on there. And I got the word waterfall, which was really interesting because at that particular weekend, there had been flooding. And so I wasn't able to actually go up to the spot. I was probably maybe, I don't know, a quarter mile from the spot where the accident actually took place. You could see it from where I was at, but I wasn't directly in front of it. So the only words that came across, there was no radio interference at all because you're literally between 2 mountains in this little bitty ravine. And so, so I got the word waterfall. I also had the rods point down there to where the accident occurred. And it was actually almost probably a whole, I mean, the rods had to spin almost completely around to point to where the accident had occurred. And so I ended up going back a week later because the waters had receded and hiked down to the spot. In the exact spot where the accident had occurred, there was a waterfall, which was really cool.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
And so it was I felt a direct, intelligent response because I had asked just before it came across the spirit box if where had the spot occurred or where had the accident occurred. And so I really enjoyed this episode because, again, it was somewhere it hadn't been investigated. It was also a story that I felt was something that had been forgotten. I mean, it ranked in the top 25 train derailments, and then it was also the number 1 troop train derailment. So it had a very interesting and a very sad story to it that I felt I was really honored to be able to share. My dad was in the military and grandfather and lots of uncles. So at the very end of the episode, I actually went and found all of the photos of the guys who had perished in the accident and cycled them through on the episode, really as just sort of a reminder that a lot of these entities that we were speaking to, these were people once. And so, so it was, I felt really honored to be able to have communication with someone at this location and then also to be able to share their story. So it's just something a little different. And then also to be able to show people that it doesn't always have to be scary and it doesn't always have to be at night to have a unique experience.
Mm-hmm. Were there any survivors from that, or how was it total
there
loss?
were no. There were a lot of survivors. There were only, I'm trying to remember the exact number at this time. I believe there were 32 or 38 soldiers who had perished, as well as the engineer. He had perished. And from the research I started doing, because when I saw this little sign, instantly I went back, and I started looking up, trying to find information on this. And there have been several books written about it, and lots of newspaper articles, and just the detail about how some of these folks died. I mean, they went into the detail of how, different pieces of metal had gone through and just, pierced through people, and people who were scalded to death. I mean, it was very tragic, and and when you see the area where it derailed, just with the track and then these rocks, it's really amazing that there were as many survivors as there were.
Anybody survived, yeah.
Wow. Now, you said something else at the beginning that made me want to go. You mentioned it was close to the secret city or something like that.
Yeah. So, during the World War, Oak Ridge, Tennessee was where the atomic bomb was created. And so that's also known as the secret city.
Oh, okay.
So, and I grew up probably about 45 miles north from there. So
why didn't we know that when we did our atomic bomb?
I'm just thinking the same thing. We apparently didn't do our research.
I guess not.
That's cool. So real quick, going back a little bit to let people get to know you a little bit, have you always been into the paranormal, or is this something you found later on in life?
I have. I've always been into it. I've been more into the storytelling side of things, and the folklore and local legends. I didn't grow up in a haunted house or anything like that, but my grandmother, I spent a lot of time with her, and she was a lot older than me. She passed at the age of 95. I was 23 when she had passed. And and she actually lived next door to us. And so I spent pretty much every day down at her house hearing stories about, the Appalachian Mountains and different, haints that she talked about, and then just different folklore and legends and such that she shared to us. I mean, she was here in the South, especially here in the Appalachian Mountains. There are a lot of different stories, as far as how and when you should plant your garden based on the signs, and hanging horseshoes over your door for good luck, and all of those sort of things. So she shared a lot of that. And then my dad, whenever both him and my mom were school teachers, and Dad would always take me out riding in the car. They were not motorcycle people, but he would take me out riding in the car on back roads and telling me stories about locations that used to be there, and some of the different stories from back when he was a kid. And so really being able to share this history and share the stories was what got me interested in it. And then also my librarian from when I was younger, she shared a lot of stories. I went to a haunted elementary school, and so she always shared the stories about some of the different hauntings in that school. It's actually really interesting because back in 1928, they actually used to show movies there in my elementary school on the second floor. And so they were showing a comedy movie on this one particular night. And there was a local doctor in there, and he was kind of being very rambunctious and laughing at this comedy. And the deputy who was there on that same night had warned him to be quiet. And so when he didn't, the deputy ended up pulling out his gun and shooting the doctor. And when he shot him, he also shot the sheriff. And so,
But he didn't shoot the deputy, right?
He didn't. But the deputy did end up being executed for his crimes. Yeah. And so the librarian, she made sure, so this would have been in the early 80s when she shared this story with my class. But she made sure that as long as she was librarian there, that she shared this story at Halloween with everyone that walked through the halls of that elementary school. And so what's interesting about that is, they would always say you could hear phantom laughter, phantom gunshots, and you could still see, before they tore the building down, you could actually see the gunshots in the wall. And so ironically, this same particular deputy is in the jail that Christy and I are running, and he was the last person to be executed out of that jail. So,
Interesting. So Ghost Crew wants to know what are some of your favorite places to investigate?
Goodness. So for me, I really like the small, non-commercial, lesser known places.
Mhm.
If I had to pick a type of commercial location that I like, I probably really enjoy jails and hospitals are probably my favorite when it comes to those type of locations. But I honestly like just a good cemetery or a location that's more known locally, that has a really interesting story that I can go in, share the story, and also kind of test to see if I'm able to get any activity from that particular story.
So what in particular do you like about hospitals and jails? I'm just curious why you picked those.
Uh, well, for me, for hospitals, you have such a variety of activity.
Mhm.
And you have such a range of emotion, everything from, life coming in and the joy with that to the different tragedies that are experienced in a hospital. So I feel that you can go to a hospital and you can really narrow in on a particular story if you get an entity that will communicate, with you about kind of what's going on. And it can be different every time you go. And it's the same sort of thing when it comes to jail, not so much the happy emotion,
Right.
but you're dealing with some of the worst people. So I feel like there's, inmates are creative and there's, some of the things that some of these people do are just so heinous. And,
Mhm.
I don't know. I feel like the energy is just something I've always had good luck getting experiences in jails, and so I kind of like. I know I'm a true crime junkie too, so I sort of
There you
like
go.
being able to marry the two.
Okay, that makes sense. Joey, did you see Jack's response?
Yes, he and Eddie don't get along.
They don't get along very good. So
Uh,
Christine's looking for a bucket list place
Mm,
that you
yeah,
like to
what's on the
investigate.
top of your bucket list?
Probably for me, I would love. When I go to places, I like to go where I can hit a lot of places at once. So probably for me, it would either be taking my motorcycle down the Mississippi Blues Trail and hitting some different locations, going through there down to New Orleans, or hitting Route 66 and investigating some different locations along that.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. So, what was the very first investigation you ever did?
Very first investigation I did was at a local bar in Chattanooga. It was a bar that was located on a marina down at the river. And I had actually, what got me on the team was I had been approached because of my background in photography. The team wanted me to, check out some images and essentially try to debunk from where they had gone to these different places and try to find logical explanations for some of the images they caught. And
Right.
so, in order to pay me back for looking at these images, they invited me to investigate this restaurant and bar. And I mean, it was a very active night. And of course, being an investigator for the first time, and of course, watching the different TV shows, it's kind of hard to know what to expect. If it's going to be, because there's these two guys that are like, hey, why don't you come to this haunted location with us and see what happens? But we actually got some really intelligent responses and some great Class A EVPs that night, and so so I was hooked from that point on. And because I'd had such good experiences, they invited me back to investigate. It was a school that used to be at one time it was a Masonic lodge, an orphanage, and now a school. And it was kind of one of those things where one of the janitors had let us in, and so we couldn't really release any evidence from it
Right.
because it is a known location that people still send their kids to. So yeah, we had such great experiences from all of that they ended up inviting me to join the team. And we typically would travel uh, either to a commercial location or to a residential location at least once a month.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. um, I want to get into one of the stories,
Mm-hmm.
but just a reminder to everybody that you will be speaking at the Las Cruces Paracon, and you're pulling a double shift on that one.
I am. Yeah, I am. I'm going to be speaking on Saturday and Sunday. I'll be talking about Ghost Biker, what I do, highlighting some different pieces from some of my different investigations. And then I'm going to be also speaking with Leon Wilkes about a case that we worked on together. So we're actually going to be speaking about both of those on both days.
And that was the segue I wanted into your story. So
That's a nice little tease.
That was pretty good.
I like it.
I'm proud of myself on that one. I'll lead off with this question, and I like to ask people this question, and I'm always fascinated by the answers that I receive. Um, what's your thoughts on demons and negative spirits?
I mean, I do believe in them. I don't think that they are as prevalent as what TV likes to have people think. But I think that more things tend to be, and this is just speaking from my experience. I do find that for myself, I've experienced more negative or aggressive. And when I say negative, I don't mean demonic. There's only been very, very few cases where I've actually experienced anything that I would even consider to be demonic. But I feel that more tends to be negative or aggressive, as in trying to get your attention. But I do believe it's out there. I mean, I am a Christian, and it's something that I've always believed in, is angels and demons. And so, I do think they're out there. I just don't think they're as prevalent as what TV leads us to believe they are.
So you collabed with Leon, and we had Leon on the show. I think, Joey, what did you say, 6 months ago? I think roughly is what it was.
So somewhere in there, yeah.
And I believe I'll have to go back and watch the episode again, but I want to say he mentioned the one that you were involved in, and I don't know if you want to kind of touch on that one a little bit,
Sure.
give a little background on it.
Sure, absolutely. So, so this house is very unique. It's called the Sunset Hill House, and I had actually gone to investigate this location as part of my season 1, episode 2. I was investigating a haunted relic, and just kind of briefly to show you kind of how they tie in together. One of the local legends in Charleston, Tennessee, is about the Phantom Monk. And this monk was riding on a train down from Maryland. The train ended up derailing in Chattanooga, Tennessee, due to excessive flooding. And essentially, it overwhelmed the doctor and overwhelmed the town because there were so many people who were injured or had passed away in this train wreck. And so, I ended up going and investigating the train wreck site. It was very interesting. Got some great pieces of evidence. But the interesting part that takes me to the Sunset Hill House is that it's rumored that the doctor that he found this monk that had perished in the train wreck, and he thought, monks don't typically have family or have anyone that would be looking for them. So it's rumored that he took the monk's body back to his practice or back to his house, actually, and dissolved the skin from the bones there in this tub. And he ended up using the skeleton in his doctor's office. Now it is.
Wow.
Yeah, it is fact that that in his doctor's office, after he came back because apparently he took a short sabbatical because, again, there were so many bodies and so much going on with this train wreck, that after everything had been taken care of, he took a short sabbatical. And when they came back, there was a new skeleton hanging in his doctor's office. At that time, during the mid-1860s, it was believed that a doctor's office was not a doctor's office if it didn't have a brand new or have a nice skeleton in it. And a lot of the skeletons at that time were actual bones. And so he ended up, he had his practice, and then he ended up selling it. Another doctor purchased it, and this particular doctor kept having different strange experiences there inside the office. He was not from the area, so he did not know the story about the doctor. And when they demolished the practice, it's alleged and said that they did find rosary beads and a robe. So this is a story that's been told, for a very, very long time. So we investigated the train wreck site, and then I actually found a family who had purchased a tub from that same era from an estate sale from the doctor. And so so this alleged tub is supposedly the tub where the monk's body had been dissolved from the bones. So at this time, the tub was stored in a home. The home, it was a 1977 split level house. And this family, I think, was the second owner of this home. And it was mom, husband, two daughters. And so I didn't know that they had actually been having experiences in this home before all of this stuff started happening. But the home had been abandoned for about 12 years, and they had been using it as storage. And so this tub was stored in the bottom. They gave us access to be able to go in and investigate the tub. So I was really just there for a simple relic investigation. But while I was investigating and while we were filming for episode 2, up on that second level, it was almost like somebody was having a party up there. You would hear a sound of something falling and being drug across the floor. You would hear doors slamming. I mean, we would literally start filming and have to stop because it's like, what is going on up there? And so I went up, I took a recorder up there, and I took my REM pod because I thought I want an alarm device so that I can see if something's happening, with a proximity while something's being dragged across the floor. And so we kept the cameras rolling and got some pretty interesting things. Of course, we didn't know if it was coming from the tub or if it was coming from the home. That's when I talked to the homeowner. She said that they had been having experiences in the home when she lived there with her daughters. Her daughters were grown, but at the time they were younger. And so she gave me permission to investigate. So I used what tools I had. Incredible evidence. I mean, it really, really creepy. It kept messing with my videographer. It was just and that's something I did not mention earlier, is that when I investigate, it's either just myself or myself and a videographer. And so on this particular occasion, it was myself, videographer, and he is not a ghost hunter or investigator. And so they kind of like to mess with him. And in this house, they were messing with him. And so a homeowner gave me permission to come back and actually do a full-scale investigation of the house. So I brought a friend that actually would go with me whenever I would do darker type locations. And so she investigated, and this ended up kind of monopolizing most of my season 1, which I was wanting to really cover more of the local legends. But I mean, this house is one, it's like you feel the energy even when you get near it. And then, as soon as you walked in, there was activity. And so we ended up doing the season finale as a live season finale from the house. And I started getting a lot of different calls and a lot of feedback from people once I rolled into season 2 saying, hey, what's going on with this house? Whatever happened with it? I mean, it was so active. Did you clear it? Whatever. And so I ended up going back, and I hope people will go back and check out season 1 and season 2 so they'll know what we're talking about. But this had been probably about 6 months after my live season finale. I decided I was going to do a call out to everyone and say, okay, you've got questions about this house, so send in some of your questions that you have. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pre-record these questions and set up cameras and trigger items in this house and leave it running overnight, then go back and see kind of what we captured the night before. And so as I was setting up, it was really strange because I decided I was going to go live for the setup. And I ended up being late for that because there was actually a murder that had occurred a street over from the house where we were investigating. And so that kind of set the tone and really kind of made things kind of uneasy a little bit. And so I get in about 30 minutes late, and this live that was supposed to be a 15-minute live of sitting and setting up cameras, setting up questions and stuff, turned out to be an hour and a half live of some of the most, it was the most active live I have ever had. You know, a lot of the time when you go live, things get really quiet. This location, absolutely not. I mean, it's like it craves TV. It craves the the attention,
Right.
and so and people were actually. I had reached out to Leon at this point because we had been filming for a year. We had been filming at this location, but I actually reached out to Leon about coming to this house, and he was watching this live. And there were different people that started experiencing things in their home while we were doing this live. It was, I mean,
Really?
it was wild, yeah. And it was almost like, you know, when I would start to shut down the live, something would happen, like flashlights would start going off behind me, or noises would start happening behind me that would distract you, and you'd be like, well, what's this? And then, you know, you start paying attention to that, and you don't go off the live. And
Right.
so we did actually, we have the live filmed, and then we also went and recapped it before the season finale of episode 2. And Leon ended up taking, you know, all of my evidence and stuff and looking at it. The reason I reached out to him was because the homeowner, after the house sitting abandoned for 12 years, and she is an elderly woman. She did not go into this house after she moved out and after she got older. But she had a family member that was wanting to move into it. So they were going to renovate the home and rent it out. And so after we had gotten all this activity, she reaches out and she's like, you know, is there something you can do to help? I mean, that's not what I do. You know, I don't clear houses. I don't, you know, remove things. But I do have people that I can get into contact with. So I did reach out to Leon and I said, you know, what do I need to do in this situation? Because this activity, it had gotten very familiar with me, and some of the clips and stuff that I'm going to play during our presentation. I mean, it's very threatening. I mean, it would call me by name. It would say I was going to die. It would say it was going to kill me. I mean, it got very threatening. And from a psychological standpoint, for me, I had become obsessed with this house because I could go in there anytime I wanted and conduct
Right.
experiments. And so it would be nothing for me to say, okay, you know, I leave work on a Thursday evening and be like, I'm going to go over here and try this at the house and see what kind of activity we can get. So it really became almost an obsession for me, and on more of an attachment on more of a psychological level rather than a physical type attachment. And so,
did that make you nervous when that started happening? When you, I mean,
it did, because I'm a very self-aware person, and so you know, it really did kind of make me nervous because honestly, as an investigator, we love those locations that are very active. And it really kind of spoiled me because, you know, when you go somewhere and you don't get the activity like you did in this home, it can be kind of like, you know, so I have to remind myself that this was something that was really unique and different that you don't experience all the time. And so, but it really became kind of scary because, and I was glad, honestly, when I was off the case of it, I was actually really glad because it was a big relief, because I found I thought about it all the time. It's really kind of hard to explain, but it did sort of have a hold. And I was just glad it was done, you know, because you know, it takes a lot to scare me. And there's just things, when I go to a location, I don't go seeking out the negative. That's just, I'm interested in a dark negative story. But to go seek demonic activity out. That's not what I do. And so, so when things really kind of started evolving in that direction, I was just really glad that it was done. And I keep in contact with the family, but I don't go in there for the purpose of, and people will see when they watch the episode and hear our presentation. As an investigator, I'm very inquisitive and, seeking answers. It's hard to not go there and want to put a recorder down or start to ask questions. And so I specifically do not go in there because I'm not going to tempt or try to bring what was removed from there back or bring it home with me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does. Absolutely. It's almost like I never heard of a term this way before, but it's almost like a psychological possession, right? I mean,
it could. That's a good way
physical.
Exactly. That's a good way to describe that because it really did get that way. And when you hear some of the responses that we got at this house, it's pretty wild. And then the responses. So not to really, give anything away, but obviously, if you guys know I'm talking with Leon, we did, call in, and we ended up having a home liberation, which is what he calls it, but essentially a home exorcism. And I was very honored that he actually let us be able to film it while we were doing it. And so I got to really speak about my videographer, Josh, because the way he put this episode together of showing it without really going, I mean, it was a 10-hour process. So right. Being able to show it and still keep that storyline going where people will know what's going on, but also not really put you too much in the middle of a very sacred sort of situation. He really did a good job of putting that together. But we were there for 10 hours and we were able to condense it down into, I think it was probably a 40 or 45 minute episode. And it was really interesting because a lot of the time they don't let cameras roll during that sort of thing.
Right.
And so he told us we were able to film. We had equipment out and we captured some really interesting EVPs while he was doing his ceremony. And I mean, these were very kind of nasty, mocking, just awful EVPs. And so, so it's really interesting that we were able to capture that to sort of validate what was going on.
Cool. Yeah. So Heavy Metal Beer Club was asking about the episode, and I know this one, you said your whole second season actually investigated a few times, right? So,
well,
but this one was the season finale.
It was. The season finale was the exorcism, but I would definitely encourage to go back because it really starts with season 2. We investigate the haunted relic, the haunted tub, and then season 3 goes into it's a continuation. Yeah, in season 3, it's a continuation. Myself and another investigator goes in there. We investigate the house and we cover it in 3 episodes of season 1, and then we cover it in the last 2 episodes of season 2. We hit a lot of really good places in season 2, but this one we circle back to it during the 4th and 5th episodes of season 2.
So the house almost encompasses a full season on its own. I mean,
it essentially does. Yeah, there's been talk. Between everything I've been working on, I've wanted to actually go and put it as one, take the episodes, compile them together and really do more of a documentary because it was a year-long case study. And so we were actually able to, there's a lot of footage that we didn't release during the seasons that has some compelling evidence. So I've thought of releasing that as a documentary.
That would be excellent.
Yep. Yeah, that would be really cool.
It's one of those things that after it was over, I was so relieved when it was over that and so exhausted. Plus, Ghost Biker really picked up and took off, and so after season 2, my videographer, because that was when COVID hit and everything, he had family obligations. So we really kind of changed the structure, and it's either just myself in these episodes, or it's myself and another person. I know Dr. Sumner from Soul Sisters has helped me out on occasion with filming. And so you're either getting it vlog style or you're getting it with myself and a videographer. And so I also now self-produce the episodes. So going through, getting the history, doing the investigation, and then going through and analyzing all of the cameras that I have, all the audio, it really does take time. And so once all of that was over and I was picking up with season 3, I was really happy to sort of put that one aside. And with the resolution of it, it was kind of like, mentally, I had to really just step away from that location, if that makes sense. And so with time passing now, it's been 2 years, maybe who knows, maybe leading into season 5. I just kind of have to see how I'm called with that one, because it is such a touchy, sensitive type thing, you know.
Right. We had a question earlier that I wanted to get to. Christine had asked, what was your scariest investigation? Would you think this is one of the top on your list?
It would be, because something had happened to me there that has never happened at any location that I've ever been at. And so after we come off the live on that one, what we were doing was I had to go plug in there was no power in the house. And so I run my cameras off of cell phone batteries. So after I had everything set up, I had to go in, plug the batteries in, and start the recorder. And when we did the pre-recorded questions, I recorded some. We also had the homeowner record some questions. And what's interesting, so there were 2 different deaths that had occurred in that house. One was the homeowner's first husband. He had passed away of a heart attack in the bathroom. And then when they used to rent the house out, there was a lady who had gotten a rare lung disorder, and she had gotten sick, and she ended up going into hospice, and she had passed away there as well. And so throughout this year of investigating, we found that there were 5 spirits that were in this home. And
Wow.
And this is just from the questioning and stuff that I had found. 2 of them kind of aired more on the more negative, aggressive side. And the other 3, I mean, they were real benign spirits. They almost seemed like they were kind of trapped by the other 2, if that makes sense. They weren't able to really speak or interact very much because the other 2 were so dominating. And so we believed that one of the more negative spirits was posing as this lady's first husband, who had passed away of a heart attack in the bathroom. And so when we started the recorder, so I got everything set up, and luckily we actually had this on video, and this, we do carry this in to season 2. But as soon as I start the recorder and the homeowner's voice starts talking, the floor beneath me starts vibrating. I've never had this happen before. It starts shaking, and the EDI box, the geofoam starts going off. The temperature just starts flashing, and the EMF detector starts going off. I had flashlights set up. I think I had about 12 flashlights all over, because they were all covered with cameras. So the flashlights in the bathroom start going off. The flashlights in the basement start going off. The ones in the kitchen. Almost every tool we had set up starts going off when this woman's voice starts talking. And my videographer, I mean, he almost literally pushes me down the steps, because he's just like, oh crap, you know? And I mean, the floor was literally shaking. And so I know he kept saying, we have got to get out of here. We've got to get out of here. I'm like, yeah, we've got to go. So, and I can still, it still actually really is kind of an emotional thing, because we got our stuff and we went outside and we closed and locked the door. And, you know, we were doing our prayer of protection before we left. And so I remember he and I were standing there holding hands with our head bowed right there at the door. And I remember looking up, and because, you know, again, because it was an abandoned house, there were no curtains or anything up. it looked like there was a party going on in the house because the flashlights were going off downstairs and the flashlights were going off upstairs.
It's a
And
disco.
yeah, it was very eerie. And so we get in the vehicle, because when I was doing the location like that, I was not on the motorcycle because, again, it was one of those situations where we were doing the live. There was a murder that occurred to a street over. And so we ended up going back to his apartment and just kind of talking about it. And the goal was to go back the next day and pick everything up. And so when we went back, we had decided, and we were both talking about it. I was like, every time I hear the homeowner's voice in my head speak, I'll feel that floor shake, because of what happened with it. Because she was addressing this entity straight out on the recorder. I mean, it was very odd, unlike anything I'd experienced. And so then the next day when we go back, we had decided we weren't going to address the spirits that were at this house. Normally when I go in, call it Southern hospitality or whatever, but every time I go into a different location, I'm always, hello, hope, kind of introducing myself again, or, just kind of having a conversation. I decided not to do that this time. And so whenever we went in, it was almost like you could feel this energy of, I don't know how to explain it. It was like it was upset, almost kind of like something was standing in the corner, and it was like, you tricked me, who I was supposed to be talking to is not here. And we got our stuff. And it was interesting because on that specific night when we were picking everything up, things were pulling my hair. One of the videos where Josh was filming, you could see kind of my hair sort of lift a little bit as we were standing there. We also got upstairs. The door was open. When we got upstairs, it was cracked open, which was really weird. And it shuts on its own. A lot of different things happened to try to get our attention, so that we would acknowledge it. And, when we left, it was like we were both, when we were getting ready to go in, we were like, I really don't want to go in there just because of the reaction we had gotten the night before, because there's just something about feeling that and then literally standing there and seeing all of that going off that just made me feel like there was a lot of power, and so that's probably the scariest experience. And I've never experienced anything like that anywhere else. And I mean, I've had some really great experiences at some different locations, but that was probably the scariest.
Wow. And all the equipment's validating what's going on, huh? That's crazy.
Because for me, okay, so if a flashlight goes off, that's great. But I'm one that, I love my EDI box. And so if you can get several different tools to go off at once, that's, to me, that's what is validating. And just having all of those go off as soon as that voice started playing, I mean, it was pretty crazy.
Wow.
That's crazy. Sorry, I jumped off there for a minute. I'm on hotel Wi-Fi and it kicked me off. So,
well, anytime, it's really kind of funny because anytime we talk about the Sunset Hill House, usually whoever's at the other podcast place starts having technical difficulty.
Oh, great!
So it didn't surprise me whenever you popped off there, but that's probably the hotel Wi-Fi.
Probably
could be. Or it could be. Yeah.
I'm going to chalk it up to that so I can actually sleep tonight, but thanks. So, I think you kind of indicated, but do you have another particular piece of equipment that you prefer to use?
I mean, like a lot of investigators say, I love the documenting tools like camera and also the recorder. But yet, if it's my EDI is always with me. I also really love my dowsing rods. for multiple reasons. One, because you don't have to worry about battery drain with them,
Right.
and then also a lot of the spirits that I've interacted with at different locations, they are familiar with them. You're not asking someone from the 1920s to touch a light. They associate a light as a candle, and so you're not asking them to touch something that they don't understand. Although I do believe that some of these locations are so over investigated that I think they learn. But and maybe there's an instant curiosity as well. But you're not asking them to touch something foreign. You can ask simple yes and no questions, and then you can also ask the directional questions. And then a lot of the time they know their general use. They know they're used to find water. So I really like them for those reasons, and that's one that I always have with me.
That's cool. I never really thought about it in the context of, somebody in the 1920s would look at it as like a candle, and yeah, of course they're not going to touch it.
Yeah.
So.
Or tell them to talk into your digital recorder.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and that's one of the things I'm always trying to find when I go to these different locations. I'm always curious if they can see me or if they can hear me. And so I like to take a whiteboard. I have a little small whiteboard that I take with me. And instead of, knocking on something and saying, can you, and I do that, but rather than saying that all the time, I'll write like knock, or I'll write a question on there or a number and see if I can get a response. And there have been a couple occasions where I've either held up a number, held up a playing card, or written something on the board and received the response through the SB7 or just as a straight EVP. And so I kind of like to do that to test to see if not so much if they can use some of the tools, but if they can actually see and interact, because who knows, if they can see us, they may be just as surprised by that as they are, as we are.
Right. I was just reading Nancy's comment there about it sounded like it was feeding back, but it sounded like different voices. We've had that happen a couple of times on the show.
Yeah, I can hear that.
You did hear that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's like background chatter. That's why I wonder if the mics were feeding back or something, but you're all plugged in, right? So, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Or Miranda's right, and that's what caused things to go nuts.
And it's the.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Yeah, no, I was hearing some voices, but I thought somebody had it sounded like almost like a TV on or something.
Huh, interesting. Yeah, obviously I didn't hear nothing because I was offline. So, I was going to ask another question, but then I forgot.
I was going to see if there was something in my background.
No, I don't see anything in yours. I can't remember what I was going to ask. All right, Joey, your turn, because I can't remember.
Well, I was going to. I mean, when we had Christy on last week, she was sitting in the gel, doing the show, so we were hoping to catch something like that while she was in the gel, but that didn't happen.
No luck.
So that's your new venture. Is that going to kind of cut into your other investigations a bit?
Possibly. Season 4 is scheduled to come out in October, but because I am producing it, I'm hopeful it will come out. But we are in the process of getting ready for our grand opening, which will actually be next weekend. And
Nice.
Been a lot going to it because we've had to build this museum and build everything else around it. And so there is the potential, but what I'm really excited about is being able to partner with her on this. We're still going to she's going to have her Soul Sisters team. I'm still going to have Ghost Biker. Hopefully it won't affect season 4. If it does, and I'm not able to get it finished by October, season 4 will still come out. Just probably gonna kind of try to shift things a little bit and have to just sort of see how that works. But we'll definitely be still have our own groups and stuff, but we're coming together for this project, which is exciting.
Well, I think we'll find. Go ahead.
I'm sorry,
Go
Keith. I was going to say, I think you'll find plenty of new material at the Scott County Jail.
I think so.
You can use in your season 4.
That's right. That's right. Well, season 4 is already filmed. It's just going through, getting the evidence.
Oh, okay.
And getting, yeah.
Now you're too organized.
Well, it's one of those things where it's like, and people ask how long it takes, because each episode really covers 3 parts. It covers the travel, the history, and the story, and then also the investigation. And so I try to keep them. They go from 20 minutes to 40 minutes, depending on exactly where I'm at. Because, the average person's attention span is about 20 minutes. And so trying to condense all of that. But I spend typically about 3 months on the history research part of everything, and then writing the script of the story that I'm telling. And then an investigation, I do travel light with the bike, but I've kind of created these kits that I have everything in, so that I can, if I'm investigating solo, I'm able to essentially drop a kit off that has a camera, a flashlight, trigger item, laser grid, that sort of thing in the little kit. And so it's easy cleanup, easy setup, easy pack up. But I have 5 different cameras typically. Sometimes I have more than that, but I have 5 cameras that I'll deploy if it's a big location. And so each camera has an audio recorder with it. And so if I'm at a location for, say, 12 hours, 5 cameras for those 12 hours and 5 audio devices, it takes a little while for me to go over everything. And I try to go over it very carefully. And so, plus the footage from where I'm actively investigating. So, because the way I film the episodes that, as you guys have seen, I film them in sort of in a real time where the person is in the investigation with me. And so it takes a fair amount of time just to go over everything, and then also to get it put together in a format with the way I edit my episodes and everything. So I have to be organized. But with this, I've been doing a lot of design and stuff for the jail, and it's been hard to do everything. A lot of sleepless nights.
Well, I sure hope we can get out there to check it out.
That'd be cool.
It's like I said, it's that, and the town itself has definitely got a lot of history to it. And we've kind of been a little tight-lipped about some of the history, just not to give it all away before we have our grand opening. But, and of course the local folks, they know a lot of that. But it'll definitely be a big surprise to a lot of folks, I think.
Well, having met Christy last week and meeting you this week, I think I have a pretty strong feeling you guys are going to make a hell of a team, and I think it's going to be a really nice place to go see. So
thank you. I appreciate that.
That would be a place we definitely have to get out and take a look at for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, come on. We'll do a show there.
Yeah, that'd be fun. That'd be a lot of fun. Yeah. So has anything ever come home with you? Is there any activity there?
I have very rarely, but I did from Hell's Bar Dam in Guild, Tennessee. After that investigation, I did have something. I hate to say it came from there. It was right after the investigation, and it was messing with my dog. And I got some. I can't stand for that, for something messing with the dog or a kid. That, it's one thing. I go out seeking this stuff, but when it comes home to my dachshund, that's a little,
You bit got a wiener dog?
I did. She's since passed away, but I had one for 17 years. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, we used to have, 3 of them at one time.
You can't have just one.
No.
But it actually, those little small wiener dogs like that are actually, a lot of them have separation anxiety. Or they're kind of high strung. And Sugar, her name was Sugar, and she didn't like it when I would leave. She didn't like other dogs either. So I wasn't able to have another dog while I had her. But I did get something that when I would come home from work, I thought there was something, somebody coming into my house. And I ended up putting my recorder out. It was before I had cameras. Put my recorder out. And I ended up getting, after I left, a male's voice. It was a real gruff voice. You hear my dog running around, panting and just really upset. And you hear this male's voice say, "Sugar, stop."
Oh,
and it was, it was the weirdest voice I'd ever heard. And so I
the
thought,
voice
okay,
said "Sugar, stop."
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So even knew your dog's name.
It did. And of course, you know how it is owning dachshunds. You're constantly kind of getting on to them. And that was something that, I don't know if it was mimicking me, because that's what I would say sometimes when she would, kind of start jumping on things. I would say, "Sugar, stop." But it was this really gruff, really gravelly voice. And so not long after that, I had cameras installed in my home. And all of this occurred within about a 3-week period, starting from when I went to Hell's Bar, when the strange things started happening, and then when I captured the voice. So I ended up having cameras installed in the house for safety excuse me, can't think of my words, for security purposes.
There you go.
And so when I came home, she had actually pulled one of my motorcycle jackets that was sitting on a chair, pulled it off, and used the bathroom on it, which was kind of an odd behavior for her. And so, so I was cleaning the jacket off. I went back and I reviewed my footage. And just before all this happened, 10 minutes before I came home. And what was interesting about it is you see her start to pace around the room, really just like she's in distress and upset. And then she stops, looks at the jacket, and you see this. The best way I can describe it is like an orb. It goes from nothing and it just develops at the jacket and comes out. And so she runs back and forth across the room twice, goes over, pulls the jacket off, and uses the bathroom on it. And what's odd, that's just totally uncharacteristic for her. So it went from, why did she do this, as sort of a, is she upset type behavior, to looking at it and seeing that maybe this was more of a protection sort of behavior. And so I watched the footage even more.
Yeah.
And so it was a 30-minute piece of footage. And as I'm sitting there, so I go clean the jacket, I sit back down and I start eating my dinner that I'd brought home after work. And after I finish, I get up and then go to throw my trash outside. And when I get up, I'm clear, I go out of frame, and then you see my dog go running, and then there's this thing shoots across the room. It raises up, and again, it's kind of like a little orb in a way. It comes up, and then it turns, and it looks like the side profile of a face. And I'm 6 foot, and so whatever this is had to be about 6'2", and because you see the face and a nose line, and it's just like it follows me out of frame. And it was really, really bizarre. But thankfully, I was able to capture that on the home security footage. And it was probably about another week after that. And then it's like all the activity just stopped.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was it something you were able to use for an episode?
I haven't. I've shared it with some people. I haven't used it as an episode, but I've thought about releasing it and just kind of putting it out there. For me, the most interesting part is looking at her behavior with it. Because again, it's not like an average person that you can say is influenced by, making it up or whatever. She's just this innocent dog, and it's out of character for her.
I just wonder if it was something that was attached to your jacket.
It's possible. It comes out of the jacket, which is weird. And I have hawked over that footage, and it's not an insect, because it literally comes from nothing, and it just comes off the jacket, and she's seeing whatever it is. And after it happens, she goes and she she pulls the jacket off and uses the bathroom on the jacket. I took it as a territorial type behavior.
Yeah, this is Mom. You can't play with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But that's been the only time that and then the other time was when we were doing the Sunset Hill house. There was one instance I was sitting watching video, and it smelled like, I don't smoke or anything, and it smelled like somebody had just come up beside me that either was smoking or had just been smoking when I was sitting there watching the evidence. And what's interesting about it is we did find that when on the earlier episodes when we were in there investigating, that the guy did, he enjoyed cigarettes and beer. And so, I don't know if it was anything related to that, but we did get that smell when I was analyzing evidence.
Wow. Well, Nancy was asking if you bought that jacket new or if it's something you picked up.
That particular jacket was a gift from my ex-husband. It was a new one that he had, when we were together, he had purchased for me from, I believe it was from the Harley Davidson store. But I do have several that weren't new jackets but that wasn't one of them that she had gotten.
Am I back on? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're back. I was trying to read Forgotten Shadows comment there.
Yeah,
I guess I'll put it up so I can see it. I can read it better that way.
That's I just saw that comment, and that's actually a very a great comment and a great thing to note, because what was interesting about it is she seemed both times, on when I captured the voice, you could tell she was at least distressed because she was panting and pacing back and forth. But then on this one, she's pacing, and it's really hard to tell if she's distressed or upset, or if she sees it and she recognizes and she's happy. But she was clearly pacing just before this happened, and then as soon as she saw it, she paced twice and went and pulled. So, yeah, definitely very interesting.
Wow,
that's crazy.
Yeah, I just found out my little doggy's got some company coming over tonight. Michelle's air just went out.
Oh boy. So, he'll have fun. So everybody can find you on YouTube under Ghost Biker. Is it Ghost Biker Paranormal that your YouTube is?
Ghost Biker Explorations. They can find that on YouTube as well as on Facebook, and also on. I'm the most active on Facebook, but all the videos, all the past seasons are there on Facebook, YouTube, and www.ghostbikerexplorations.com.
Okay, so everybody go subscribe to her YouTube channel and show her some love in that respect.
Yes, and we need to figure out how we can post that in the comments.
I know.
Everybody says they do that, and I was like, well, I don't know how to do that.
Well, the thing is, every time I go to do it, I have to click on the YouTube channel. It ends up playing the YouTube channel, so it always ends up leading over to what we're trying to do. So I never have any luck with it.
We'll get it figured out one of these days.
So I know Wendy was asking earlier, are you going to be doing the investigation on the jail with us while you're in New Mexico?
Is that on the Friday night?
Saturday night.
Saturday
night.
Really? Yeah.
Possibly. I know we're getting out there a little bit later. I know there's like a meet and greet on the Friday night, and we're getting out there a little bit later. We're trying to look in to see if we're able to change that and get in earlier for the meet and greet. I'm not sure if that's going to be the case, since we're just getting the jail open and we're trying to figure out all of that. But we will probably be there for that investigation if it's on that Saturday night.
Well, maybe we can talk to Vicky and see if we can get in Friday night after the meet and greet. Maybe get in late and go do They'll have all the guest speakers do an investigation. That'd be kind of fun.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah.
That'd be neat.
Yeah. I see Joe got the, looks like Joe pasted the
Yeah,
link in the
cool.
comments
Thank you,
there.
Joe.
Thank you, Joe. Yeah, it's
That's
pretty
awesome.
easy. Most of the time, I think I've got so many videos and stuff up there. If people just search Ghost Biker on Google, it should pull up the Facebook and YouTube pages at least, for sure.
Cool.
Yeah, so yes, we usually do a beer before our show, but since we're home tonight, we didn't do any beer. But did you see what we did last week?
I did. You Ghost Rider beer.
Ghost Rider, yeah.
How was it?
I liked it.
It was
But
good.
yeah.
Very
It was
cool.
kind of a hybrid. It was a IPA Belgian wheat.
Very nice.
But it was good.
Very nice.
Yeah, we were trying to save it for your episode, but the timing just didn't work out.
Yeah.
Hey, it's a good preview.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. So, well, very cool. Definitely want to thank you for coming on tonight. We really enjoyed this.
Yeah, this has been great.
Yeah, thank you
Sorry.
all so much.
Thanks for your ghost to knocking out my internet. That was good.
You'll just have to see if it happens again.
Yeah, well, it's happened several times, and right now I can actually barely hear you guys because it's very choppy. So I'm still on the verge of going out. So.
Yeah. You got the controls, so or you know how to use the controls.
Well, I do. I appreciate you guys having me on, and I appreciate all the different comments and all the folks that have tuned in tonight.
It's our pleasure. Absolutely. It was a lot of fun having you guys on. So we definitely look forward to seeing you in New Mexico.
Yeah. Can't wait to meet you guys in person.
Yeah, this can be a lot of fun because we get to meet a lot of people that we've talked to in the past but never had the opportunity to meet in person. So it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
All righty. Well, thank you, and we'll be seeing you in October.
Absolutely. We look forward to it. See you then.
Yeah,
Same here. Have a great night. I don't know if I'm doing it, Joey, or you are, but
well, I tried that. I wasn't sure if you could get to it. If it's you keep freezing.
Yeah, it's being really
your face
weird.
keeps freezing in there. That's all right.
Does it? Yeah, it's being really jumpy. Crazy. Now all my comments are starting to come through. So all the comments are starting to pop up now. Weird.
Yeah, a lot of great comments tonight. And
yeah, it was good.
Thank you, everybody that's been popping on.
Yeah.
It's been awesome.
So yeah, let's see if it'll let me do this. Nope, it's not letting me do it. I'm trying to click on other ghosts.
Trying to do the
I clicked on the flyer for Las Cruces Paracon.
Okay. You were trying to do the little commercial?
I was going to do that next, but I'll let you do that.
Okay. Well, should we sign out with that?
Well, first I want to remind everybody also not only about Las Cruces, but we also have our Parapalooza coming up.
Oh, yeah.
And that is September 24th and 25th, 26th. And I think I got that flyer there if you want to pop that up, Joey, too. Probably get to it a lot quicker than I will.
There you go.
There you go. So we're still looking for people to participate. We have slots open on Friday. We have a few slots open on Saturday and a couple on Sunday. So if you're interested in coming on and doing an hour segment, let us know. We're also looking for somebody to host Friday and Saturday. So if you're interested in being a host,
not both days. I mean, we don't need. We want to spread it out a little bit. So
right,
2 more hosts. So 1 for Friday and 1 for Saturday.
Or if somebody's ambitious and they want to do both.
Oh yeah, no, we wouldn't. We wouldn't deny anybody that.
I'm good with that. Oh, also, I want to point out that my dad's book is coming out.
Ah, cool.
The ebook's out right now, available on Amazon. So if you guys want to check it out, The Soul of Juby Walker. We talked about that on a couple of our episodes.
So, yeah, if you go back to our reincarnation episode.
Yep.
Which was just about a month ago. Was it?
Has it been that long?
Maybe.
Probably.
Or 3 weeks ago? I don't know. Time flies.
Go check that out. And then, yeah, we'll leave you guys with a little commercial for the Las Cruces Paracon. If you could
I
find
got to
that.
find it again.
And I think we're going to have Jeff's going to be on next week again, right? With a beer?
Right. Not sure what beer we're doing.
Yeah, I don't know what beer we're doing yet either, but we'll figure that out as the week goes on. Also, if anybody else is, interested in being on the show, please reach out to us. We'd love to have some new groups come on, and it's a good spotlight for you to talk about your group and how you got involved in the paranormal field. So if you know of anybody that might be interested in jumping on our show, let us know, because we always look for new guests, and it's much better than watching Joey and I stare at each other for an hour and a half and talking about whatever. So we always look
we entertain each other. So
that we do. So all right. So if you got that pulled up, then we'll say goodnight to everybody. And
I'm ready to hit it.
I'd say cheers, but I only got coffee tonight. So
well, I'm kind of embarrassed. I'm drinking a hard seltzer, but it's peach tea. So that sounded good. It tastes pretty decent, actually.
It kind of sounds yummy. That's good to take a break every once in a while. All right. So until next week, this has been The Truth About Beer.
Paranormal talk.
Yep.
Until next time.
All right.
I'll say
cheers, everybody.
Cheers,
yeah,
Truly.
Cheers.